In a quiet place, knowledge is passed down, not written, not taught, but lived. Healing is learned through watching, through listening, through care. But when a woman holds knowledge, power often moves to silence her. To love freely means risking everything and choosing whether love is freedom or another kind of cost.
History remembers the trials, but it forgets the women who healed in the shadows. In colonial America, knowledge could save lives or condemn you. Midwives, healers, daughters, women whose gifts were feared, misunderstood, and punished.
Hi, I'm Paul Rushworth-Brown, host of Down Under Interviews, History Bards, and Meet the Author in the US. And welcome to sunny Sydney. And we're here with Myriana Merkovic, who's done a wonderful job on her novel, The Healer's Daughter. Welcome to the show, Myriana.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
So we're going to get straight into it. I mean, the novel sounds absolutely fascinating, but one of the most important things I like about historical novels is when they try to tell or give a message that doesn't automatically stare you in the face. In other words, you have to sort of like see the ambiguous side behind it. All right. So this novel feels driven less by spectacle than by silence. The unspoken rules, the inherited fears, the knowledge women were never meant to name. What was the first silence you wanted this story to break?
I think, to be politically correct, I should answer women, which is a huge reason, but it's also nature. And I think it's more Mother Nature. Women, whether they are human or whether it's in nature, I wanted to bring up nature because even though I'm not a healer, I'm not a witch.
I thought you were going to come out and say, I'm a healer, I'm a witch.
I was in the medical field for 35 years.
I mean, the thing is, you being in the medical industry for quite a few years, if you were back then, you would have been considered dangerous. You would have been considered...
Absolutely. Well, not only was I in the medical field for 35 years, every woman in my family has been either a nurse, a doctor, a physical therapist, psychiatrist, all of us. The men in my family are flyers, but the women are healers, but in the more conservative, traditional way. But my father was a true gypsy. He was a Roma. So I inherited from his family, his blood, direct blood. I inherited that power, if I chose to maybe delve a little bit deeper into the magic power that women are capable of yielding. Not men, just women. But I didn't. I needed to make a living. So, and I honestly would rather have children than die at the stake. So I decided to stick to the traditional medicine. Yeah. But yes, I wanted to bring nature up tremendously because I think when I look at what's happening on the planet and how we don't guard, don't protect, and aren't showing enough gratitude and preserve our nature, I see the damage that we're doing. And I'm not even talking about global warming, which in America is a taboo subject, but I'm talking about everything else. People, cutting down trees in their backyard to have more room to put a fake lawn. I don't understand. Trees are living beings and they bring so much. And in all of my books, nature has a big silent role. So I want to be its voice in every one of my books. And I'm not an environmentalist any more than I'm a healer.
When you're Okay, so just make comments about that. You're not writing about witches. You're writing about fear of female knowledge. Just expand on that a little bit.
Very astute from you to notice that. Yes, it is. Again, coming back to the healers topic, women for centuries have been usually guided more towards the healing, the nurturing, and they were most of the village healers were women, but women were banned from medical schools, and they were banned from any life-saving practices that only men could do. The men in those days, 15th, 16th, 17th century, would rather have a barber attend a complicated surgery or a butcher than have a female healer. Because again, and I think, and that stemmed from exactly that, the fear that women could take away their own powers. So that is something that I've never, ever understood. And I'm incredibly sensitive to it, because I think that the more people there are that can share knowledge and that can share science, the more chances we have from making discoveries and pushing medicine further. So yes, it was the fear of women, and 80%, it wasn't just women that were caught in the witch trials that went on for 300 years all over Europe and America. It isn't just the Salem witch trials, but they still went on afterwards. 80% of them were women, but 20% were men, 15 to 20%. And the reason why they targeted women is because a lot of these women were spinsters, were women that were widowed or were unprotected by men, and it was their way also of keeping them dependent and keeping their knowledge buried. Sad.
Yeah.
And it's still going on. I mean, it's funny. I find it very funny how in times of female repression, even in modern times of female repression, how we bring back witchcraft each time, and witch books have tremendous success nowadays. But I mean, look at what's happening politically also, more and more places, and even in my own beloved country, the women's right to rule their own bodies is basically going back to the 16th century.
In 1937, life offered little mercy, and for Vesta Blahnik, each day felt like one more step toward losing everything she had ever known. On a struggling Minnesota farm, she worked from dawn until long after dark, holding together a home her father had already decided to leave behind. When he sold the farm without a word, Vesta was left with no money, no security, and nowhere to go. Her only lifeline came in the form of letters, promises of stability from a man she had never met. Desperate, she put her future in the hands of strangers, hoping the truth would be kinder than the world she was running from. But in North Carolina, Gordon Crenshaw faced a darkness of his own. A widower consumed by grief, confined to a state hospital and forgotten by the family who sent those letters in his name. When Vesta arrived, the promises collapsed. Two strangers, both abandoned in different ways, forced together by desperation, circumstance, and the simple need to survive. Now they must find a way to build a life from whatever pieces the world has left for them.
I mean, you just answered about 3 of my questions, so well done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Okay, so this whole idea of, I mean, and you're quite right. I mean, for example, in Australia, women are doing exactly, well, all over the world, even in the US, women doing the same job as a CEO or whatever as a man will get paid less. So, in this novel, you use restraint, magical realism. Sometimes it's ambiguous, almost secondary. Did you worry that holding back would make the story less dramatic, or did you feel that the real danger in the community is fear rather than anything supernatural?
And I love it. I love that question. No, I didn't try and hold back, but I didn't want to delve into witchcraft as much. I mean, there is a witch in the story, and I love her, Sable. She's a dark witch, but we can prove that there's always been good and bad magic. It's been used for millions of years, and I exaggerate, okay, thousands of years, but there's always a reason why people do bad things. And most of these dark witches also just went down the rabbit hole or the slippery path because something happened to them, something traumatic. Women, I don't think, are born vengeful. I'm of the theory of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the French philosopher, that we are all born good people. And if we turn, to the other side and start doing bad things, it's because bad things have happened to us. Not out of revenge, but just because our souls are being tainted. And I didn't want to go down that road. I wanted the Galeen women to be true healers and to use the powers of nature, the invisible powers of nature through plants and herbs and flowers to help them heal. Yes, they do have magic, but it's good magic. And I really believe we all have it. You can go outside and see something in nature that will just awe you, and you're going to think, oh my God, that was magical. And you can feel it. I truly believe that women, especially women who are in childbearing years, have that kind of power within them. And that's the good kind of magic that I wanted to bring out. I didn't want to go into, well, plus if I did go any deeper, I think I'd have nightmares every night. I couldn't do it. So I wanted to stay in the light.
I mean, this is a very serious book, and it's got some very serious undertones to it. When you were writing it, were you scared that when people sort of like started hearing the words witches and magic and that type of thing, that it would take some of the seriousness away from it?
Oh yes, I did. Yeah, but then again, it's a question of truth, isn't it? The truth is that witch hunts existed from the 1200s on in Europe and then came to America, but they still go on today. And as long as they just look different, people are the same throughout the ages. We might wear different clothes, we might live in different houses and travel different ways, but we're still the same. We still all fall in love. We still all lose people we love. We still all try to survive in a hostile world, and we still fight injustice. And in today's world, the witch hunters don't look like they did in the 17th century, but you have them: anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, gender identity problems, and hatred, bigotry. Those are all witch hunts.
Two lives separated by decades. Two stories shaped by war, loss, and the search for something better. In 1943, Bernhard Lang is swept into the tide of World War II, a young man fighting to survive a world collapsing around him, until an unexpected ally shows him a life he never imagined. 22 years later, 12-year-old Joseph Holloman is drowning in a childhood no one should have to endure, alone, until he meets Frank Gardner, a quiet man with a past he rarely speaks of. But Frank carries a secret, one that reaches back to Bernhardt's war-scarred journey and forward into Joseph's desperate hope for escape. Across time, across trauma, across lives shaped by forces beyond their control, their stories collide in a moment that changes everything. Between the clouds and the river is where the past finally finds its voice, and redemption finds its way home.
It's the same thing. So I just decided this is fiction based on events that happened in the 17th century, but it's still fiction. And I just masqueraded today's witch hunts in that book through the Galeen women.
I mean, really, it's a lot about power, isn't it? Power over women, and which as we've said has been happening for decades. Well, still around today. Anyway, the daughter in your story, who's a very interesting character, she doesn't seek rebellion or power. She inherits suspicion simply because of how she was born. Were you more interested in exploring her inheritance than her defiance? And what does that say about how history decides guilt before a person ever does anything?
It's I wanted to focus on her choices. I wanted to bring up that nobody is ever a victim. Women in the 17th century and in my story timeline were victims to a certain degree, but we really truly aren't. We have choices, and they demand sacrifice, every one of them, but we have the choice. And I wanted her to be the first in the lineage to finally challenge the legacy of history. I don't think that it's history that gives us guilt. I think it's family histories. You know, we are deemed, I'm 66 years old. I'm still from a generation where we didn't choose our studies. We didn't choose our path. You know, I wanted to be a writer. Well, I had to go to medical school. My sister wanted to be a theater dancer. Well, she had to go to medical school. So, you know, my other sister wanted to be work with dolphins. And she had to go to medical school. So, you know, we all came to our real careers much later in life. Granted, you know, it wasn't all done out of love, but I think that I probably felt a little bit of victim for so long until somebody told me, well, how long are you going to blame your mother for not being a writer? And that I was like a slap in the face. They said, you know what, you're right. So finally at 59, I sat down and wrote my first novel and published it. And I am now on my fifth novel. So what I'm trying to say through this book, and that was a big reality check, is that we shouldn't feel guilty because we're not victims. And if we do feel guilty, it's because we abided by the legacy of our family or our country or whatever without listening to our true voice. And I wanted Naida to be the first one to challenge that. And for that, I needed to confront her with something. And since the Gallien women received their powers because they have to swear an oath, and that oath is that they will never fall in love. They will never feel love, any kind of love. They are not allowed emotions because emotions detract you from your purpose. And their purpose is to take care of women, watch over women, save women. And any man or any child that you could care for would be a distraction from that purpose. And I wanted Naida, I wanted one of these Gallien women to be challenged by that, to actually fall in love, and then to see what is she going to choose. Is she going to, because if you break the oath and fall in love, you lose all your powers and the legacy dies with you.
Who were these people that were being accused?
They were women. They were widows, spinsters, single women. Village healers were an easy target. They were women in the majority. And 80% of those, like I said, 85% of those who died were women. Most of them were absolutely, totally innocent. And they weren't accused. The reason why they went after these women was not because they used healing magics. It was because they were women and they had knowledge, as you very astutely said in the very beginning. They had a knowledge that man needed to censor that. I didn't find much about the personal stories of these women, just because the history books are written by men and about men. And, you know, women's point of views, their beliefs, their journeys are most of the time censored or they're completely overlooked.
So where did you feel the weight of responsibility most? Accuracy, tone, or emotional truth?
Accurate, definitely emotional truth. You know, I live a lot in the invisible world and the heart's world. My heart has first saying in every decision I make. My head comes third. So yes, emotional truth is important. And again, especially today, being honest with your true beliefs, who you really are. So yes, truth and emotional truth and identity was probably the primal factor. But I still had to stay very factual and as close to the truth in history as I could. For that, I relied on all my research.
Yeah. So do you think that that fear is actually the antagonist in the story?
No, I think it's guilt. I think it's duty.
Okay.
Because duty is something that comes from your mind. It's you aren't born with duty. You're born with compassion and empathy and love. You aren't born with duty. That's something and again, that's what I wanted to bring. What's more important in life, duty or love? By my book, it's always love is love is love. It's all that matters. And it doesn't have to be the love of a human being. It can be any kind of love. But for me, that was more important. And I was curious to see what choice she was going to make. But she actually didn't make the choice. It was made for her. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were writing, was there a part in the story that actually took control away from you as the writer?
Yes, absolutely. It happened. I went to visit my sister in Belgium, the doctor, and she gave me, my mother had just passed away recently at the golden age of 91. And my little sister gave me this ring. And this is the ring that my father had given my mother when they met. So this ring is 65 years old. And she gave it to me. And it really touched me deeply. And I put the ring on. And I had just gone to visit her for a couple of weeks. And I write meticulously. I have a very strict agenda for writing. I sit at my desk every day, no matter what happens, 1 o'clock till 6:30 every single day, and no interruption, no disruptions, nothing. But she gave me that ring, and I sat down. So even though I was visiting her, I sat down at the desk, and suddenly, I don't know if it's because my parents had this unbelievably beautiful, complete, otherworldly love that they shared their entire lives. And it was a life of magic and, oh my God, totally ethereal. But I don't know if it was the vibrations that I got from the ring or if it was the memories of my father giving it to my mother and her wearing it. But suddenly I sat down at my desk and Naida told me, I need a man. I need to fall in love in this story. I had no plan on putting a love story in this book. It was never part of the equation. It was going to be just the political times, the fear of women, the struggles of women, and those, especially the quietly defiant, independent women, who tried so hard to make a living without being ruled, most of them brutally, by a man, and who paid the price for it. But it was never going to be a love story. And then suddenly, so I sat at my desk, I said, okay, I've got to bring in a British naturalist. And I did. So yes, it took its own direction.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you like readers to take away from this? And as a man, when I read it, what am I going to get from it?
Wow. First, as a man, I do apologize, and I hope I haven't insulted your gender in any way, because I have the utmost respect for men, in every way.
You shouldn't apologize for something for truths. I mean, everything that you've said is a truth, so you shouldn't apologize for that. But sorry, finish your question. Finish your answer.
So then you must be a man very much in touch with your own femininity.
Oh yeah, I'm very, very in touch with my feminine side.
Yes, and kudos to you for that.
As a man, what will I get from the novel when I read it? And also, what would you like readers in general from the story to take away from the story?
As a man, to all men, I would say, just open your other eyes, not just the eyes that you're looking with, Just open the eyes of your heart. Look at women, truly look at them, look at their intelligence, their souls, their minds, and see all the contributions that they can bring to your endeavors. Whether you work at NASA or you're in aerospace or anywhere, it doesn't matter. We can contribute as much to all those endeavors, and just, because we have that power to give life also. So I do hope that men won't see this as anything insulting to the history of their ancestors, because they all had such ancestors, but they will see this as an opportunity to maybe view us as powerful being as well. As far as what general readers can take from this, I just first and foremost, I hope I entertain them, because I'm a reader before anything else. I love books. They are my escape. They are my secret garden. They enlighten me. They open my eyes, my soul, and for just a few hours or a couple of days, I get to escape this world that's becoming harder and more hostile and more intolerant and more hardcore electronic, than before. So books are still, for me, the way to escape out all that. And I just hope that I was able to provide that oasis.
Wonderful. So this is a favorite part of my interview. It's I'm going to give you 10 quick fire questions. All right. One or two word answers. All right.
Okay.
And here we go. One word to describe your protagonist.
One word. Vulnerable.
A scene that scared you to write.
The bear attack.
Okay. History book or novel?
Novel.
Silence or resistance?
Resistance. Can I do silent resistance?
Of course. Healing as gift or curse?
Gift.
Coffee or tea while writing? Neither. Vodka.
Oh God, no. That's after. That's later.
Would you sit before a modern day tribunal and defend her?
In a heartbeat.
Myriana, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Some very interesting concepts came up then. I wish you the very, very best of luck with The Healer's Daughter.
Thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was a true pleasure.